Alright, we'll just wait on this loading up, and now to ping everyone. There. Should be everything going. It's been a while to get here, but anyway. Patch notes. At last. New music, new nice stuff, but anyway. We're going to be doing this in 4 sections today instead of 1 because there's a lot of stuff to get over today. We need to go through the patch notes. Once I've done the patch notes, I then need to go through all of the questions anyone has, an update. Once I've been through the questions, I'll show off briefly new stuff that I've made. You've probably seen that pinned already, but we'll go over it again anyway. And then we've got 4 of a kind with Tony.Sr. at the end, which is the last thing we do today. Right, and now to begin. So, patch notes. To demonstrate the patch notes, I'm just going to take a test ship, the hangar, and we're going to show off stuff. This is not a run, obviously, need to show off the weapon changes. So yeah, we'll just do a bit of guard, a bit of rich. Let's start talking about weapon balance changes. So for lasers, there's not actually too much new stuff. Only 3 changes to lasers. The defense laser now costs 20 more. So instead of the other 2 weapons that you can pick from the starting weapon choice, for some reason giving more than the defense laser, and have it all sell for the same price. And then we have the changes to light lasers. So light lasers now use a new hyperspace feature called accuracy, and it effectively works like an anti-engines perk. So that one's easy enough to demonstrate. If I do weapon laser light 2, unless I forgot the name of it, no, light 2. So this now has accuracy on it. What accuracy modifier does is it reduces the power of the enemy engines by 10. Well, it's usually set to 10. You can do it, I believe it does in limited values. So you could do 5 if you wanted, or 3, or whatever. And if you set it to 100, it allows you to hit anything even when it's cloaked, sort of like a beam. And some weapons do have 100 accuracy, although not the light lasers. So yeah, I'll go and pull one of the piercers up. Let's see, what do we have? Laser pierce, that'll do. So these also have pierce, like they used to have, but then I have accuracy. It's 10, just like the light lasers, so depending on the enemy you're fighting, this could mean it can never miss. So for auto scouts that have 2 engines, you'll always hit them with these, which is a good change, in my opinion. And I guess to test them, we can spawn the test bomber. So these work just like we did last update. I don't think there's been any actual changes to these other than the accuracy, as far as I can tell. But they're not going to miss very often, although fool's predictions as usual obviously happens as soon as I say it won't. Yeah, this should be more accurate. As a point of reference, a ship that has a dude piloting an engine, like an enemy one, has an evasion of 20. So with an accuracy of 10, the enemy evasion is now just 10. Which is definitely quite strong. So for these light lasers, you'll be able to rely on them to take enemy shields off a lot more than you would have in previous updates. Speaking of balance changes, actually I have one on my ship just now, this medic. Medics do a lot less combat damage this update. It's probably one of the harshest nerfs we've got in the update. I believe it's now 50% combat damage with these guys. But anyway, changes be changes. I'll just beat up the test bomber. Once the test bomber is dead, we'll look at the next section of weapons. There's not too many other changes for lasers. The only other change is to sniper. Sniper also has accuracy, but it has 100. And what this means is that sniper literally can never miss. We'll put the sniper up here. This is as accurate as the pinpoint laser called Never Miss. So even if the enemy cloaks, it always hits them, which is really nice. And it still does the same things. Its cooldown is also quicker now. It takes 15 seconds instead of 16. And that's the last of our laser changes. Right, we'll take these lasers off and have a look at the next section of weapons. So next on our list we have particle weapons. If you like particle weapons, I have bad news for you. They've all been nerfed, like literally all of them. They're a lot less accurate, they have a lot less fire. Particle missile does less damage as well. The only buff we have is to the particle 2. It fires quicker now, but it is also less accurate like all of the particle weapons. So I'll just pull up a particle weapon quick here. Let's get particle 2 because that's the one that's had the biggest change. So particle 2. Now 15 seconds cooldown. As you'll notice very quickly with these, the radius on these is now enormous, which does mean they're not as reliable. This ship starts with the particle missile. You can see it's now 6 damage instead of 7, so that's another change. The downside of these now is that for things like auto scouts, you're going to struggle to hit modules with these, so they are a lot less reliable, and the fire chance is down on all of them. So they're also not going to be quite as strong for crew killing. But the particle 2 particularly, I don't think this has changed much in what I'd recommend it for. It's still very strong for doing system damage if you can support it. So we'll get the test bomb out again, and I'll have a, let's just pull a laser particle as well. And also we need to talk about the beam. The particle beam used to have a really odd delay, but that has also been removed now. So the particle beam, it just fires like an ordinary beam now. There's no funky delay to contend with. I guess we'll get some MFKs to do with these borders because that's not what we're trying to test today. Well, there'll be a new crew layer. Yeah, the particle beam delay I think is one of the things that put people off using it, but that's now gone. Sadly, the particle beam's just not very good anymore. Its fire chance is now really terrible. It's only 40. But anyway, the radius in particle 1 is accurate enough, so if you're aiming at a 2x2 room, it's still accurate. If you aim at a 2x1 or 1x1 room, though, you're gonna struggle to hit things. Particle 2 is even worse. It's not accurate against anything fully. It's not a big deal for 2x2s, but the 2x1s and 1x1s, you're kind of wasting your time now. You're going to be missing a lot of shots. And the fire chance in particle 1 particularly is very low now. It's not guaranteed. As you can see there, we didn't get any. Particle 2 hits really hard. Again, the fire's not reliable anymore. The particle beam has the same problem. On paper, you'll probably set 1 or 2 tiles of fire, but you're not going to be using this as a torch beam anymore, which I guess could be a bit disappointing. As a side note as well, the vanity of these particles, they look a bit weird now because it's not a blob anymore. They're a bit spread out now, so it looks more like a flat. But yeah, that's particle. The missile, the only change was the damage, it's just 1 less, so it's not a huge change on that. And yeah, test bomb has been crew killed, so they are still useful. It's not a big hit for damage, it's mostly the fire that's not so prevalent now. And obviously auto scouts are going to laugh it off. The iron ones I'm not going to cover very much because there's actually not any changes, just vanity. So if we get out the ion 4, yeah, the particle weapons have been nerfed pretty hard this update. across the board nerfs for literally all of them. The Particle 1's radius is twice as high, its cooldown's longer. Particle 2, bigger radius, lower fire chance. The beam has a third less fire, although it doesn't have the delay, so I don't know, you can take that as you will. Oh, and the missile does not have accuracy, unlike all of the other missiles, so I guess that's a nerf as well. We'll call that ion weapon. And before I do that, I also need to show off, there's a really bizarre particle weapon. I don't know if anyone's familiar with it. I played it not too long ago. The energy missiles. Now these are obtainable quite easily now. It's a starting weapon on a ship. Test mount is back again. So energy missiles are not a joke weapon anymore. They're actually pretty good. So energy missiles, for some reason, are overpowered. They now do 10 ion damage, which... I mean, that's literally enough ion damage to break the flagship's shields instantly. So they're a bit broken. They also do 3 hull damage now, so you don't have to rely on the fire crew killing anymore. And they have hull bust, so you can use it as a budget obsidian if you wanted to. So this thing's actually really good. It's a starting weapon on one of the new cruisers. So that's all there is for that, for the ion weapons. Ion weapons, on the other hand, we have not a change to any of them. It's just a vanity change. And it's a really hard one to see, but the ion blobs, they now spin. I don't know why, but they have a little spinning animation now. And most ion weapons have this. Why it got added is beyond me, I have no idea. I think it looks pretty, some people don't, so very much a preference, a personal preference on that one, whether you like this change or not. But no, with particle weapons it is pretty grim. If they were your favourite weapon class, you might be a bit disappointed. Anyway, let's get this test bomb out of the way and look at the next set of weapons, because there are some changes to missiles, but missiles are probably the largest change out of any weapon class this update. There'll be lots to talk about with them. So for missiles, let's pull some generic missiles. Let's start talking about them. Scroll down past the ion. The only missile that hasn't changed is Leto. Everything else has changed. So I think the one that everyone thought was a bit of a joke last update would be Ares. So we'll get Ares, because that has been really overhauled. So if we look at Ares, it no longer uses 2 missiles, which is a lot more economical. So that's the best, in my opinion, the best change. It's no longer a joke weapon. Artemis gets 10 accuracy, Hermes gets 10 accuracy, Ares also gets 10 accuracy. That's all they get. Ares gets the economical bonus, so it no longer costs 2 missiles for some reason. And then we have a buff to a weapon that I did not expect a buff for. I don't think anyone expected a buff for the Pegasus. So the Pegasus is now incredibly overpowered. It takes only 8 seconds to cool down now, and it also has the accuracy buff that most missiles have. And then the Hydra, which honestly was kind of overpowered last update anyway. Hydra is now really stupid. So if we pull up this, 3 missiles, 11 seconds. It's a pretty spicy missile now. And it also has accuracy. So this is a premier option now for missiles. We also have a very big change to Nyx, which I'll get onto just now. I'll find the ID for that. So Nyx has been overhauled as well. Missiles cloak. So Nyx has had enormous sweeping changes. It takes longer to cool down. It does 2 damage instead of 3. And it has hull bust, but it has something else that's a bit sneaky. It also has never miss, like Sniper does. So if you fire a Nyx and the enemy cloaks, it's going to hit them anyway. It doesn't matter now. It's a 100% accurate weapon. you will always be able to rely on Nyx to hit your target, which I think honestly is more important than its damage nerf. Being able to rely on this is quite nice. And it is still a cloaked missile, so there is literally nothing the enemy ship can do to avoid getting hit by this. And then for the last couple, we have a Momus nerf, which I don't think anyone's going to be very happy with. So Momus has been nerfed. Let's get Momus. So as you may notice, there is something lacking from Momus. It no longer has any status effect chances. So it is a very basic and bland missile now. Well, I would point out the status chances, they weren't very high last update, but it has nothing now. So no statuses. And the remaining two missiles, the elemental ones, they also have this accuracy bonus. So Hades, Asclepius and Eris, they have accuracy. So to get a look at these, we'll spawn another test bomber. Oh, I forgot to specify a sector. So yeah, got a variety of missiles. The one which I think is definitely the strongest now is probably the Hydra, only taking 11 seconds to fire 3 missiles that are basically 100% accurate most of the time. I mean, you can't really go wrong with it. And Pegasus, 8 seconds for 2 damage is really good for hitting weapon systems at the start of fights. So I think these are both premier options. They also don't take much power. Like Hydra's basically a burst laser as a missile, it's quicker, and it has accuracy, and shield pen. So yeah, these will be things you'll be happy to see instead of being a little abusive over. And then if you want a big boy, Ares is now a budget obsidian. It's no longer a meme. So 8 damage, pretty solid if you're looking for a quick kill now. Cloak, fire it with maybe some other stuff like a sniper, and you can probably one-shot ships with this now. And it's not expensive, so you can use it quite frequently. And actually missiles. So the next category of weapons will be beams. The beams haven't had the hugest list of changes, even though there are a lot of beams. So we'll start off with the smallest beam that's had a change, and that is the sputum. So if you remember the little mini beam, everyone's little favourite thing from vanilla, that you can't seem to find anywhere, you can now find the mini beam in stores. It costs 50 scrap and is uncommon. It's otherwise unchanged though. That's nice if you like it. If you like Halibut though, I've got some bad news for you. Halibut is kind of useless now. So Halibut is now really slow. It's a 19-second cooldown. As a small piece of advice, I just wouldn't use Halibut this update. It is really bad now. It's too slow for what it does. You're better off either having a mini beam or getting one of the other elemental ones, because it's just not good. Another weapon to change, the Scythe Beam. Now, the Scythe Beam's change is very nice. It no longer bugs out on speed, so I can actually play this for Fall of the Kind now. So if you're like me and you enjoy playing with speed turned on, this is a great change. Its beam speed is slow enough that it won't randomly skip over rooms. Yeah. And then we have the Ransar change. So I don't think anyone really liked Ransar last update. The problem with it was just too much power for a tiny elemental beam, and that's been remedied by making it 1 power. So if you want to troll your enemy with breaches, you're in for a good time. It's guaranteed to make breaches now. It costs 1 power, and that's good. It still has its shield pierce. It's not received any nerfs. It's all buffs for Ransar. So if you want to make enemies run out of oxygen, this is your premier option now. And the final option for your beam changes is one that everyone's heard of and thought was a bit of a joke, really. The mining beam has had some major overhauls. So I'll pull up the mining beam. And we'll have a look at these changes. So the mining beam has a lot more reliable drop sources now. There's a sector where you find these. And you'll learn about the lore of this weapon, but it uses 2 power now instead of 3. It also has a really, really high breach chance. So I'd really just say this is a Ransour 2, to be quite honest. It's much longer, much stronger, it does hull damage and system damage like it did last update. It still has the shield pen, and now it's just more useful. The breach chance is high enough you can rely on it, and the power only being 2, it's small enough to go with most other weapons now. So yeah, that's how beam changes. We'll smack some more Mantis with our newly changed beams. Yeah. That's not all of the beam changes technically, because there are pinpoints, but we'll get to those in a minute. We'll demonstrate our new and improved beamage. Oh, hello there. It's a bit nasty. Mining beam, yeah, mining beam is a really good beam now. It is still quite slow, so we'll need shields pretty well suppressed to be useful, but it kind of replaces Halberd this update. The breach chance is really high, the system damage is the same, it's also longer than Halberd, and it's also good for crew kill, so it kind of just does everything. The new Ransour is incredibly strong. For just 1 power you can put holes everywhere in the enemy ship. I mean, look at that, it's like 6 breaches for 1 power, it's really good. And the new scythe, to demonstrate this change I need to go on speed. And I'm going to load a fresh Mantis bomber. So the previous issue with the scythe was that because it was so quick, it would just skip over rooms. So like here, in the previous update being on speed, if you find something like this, it would skip this engine room. Oh! First bug report of the update, it's not actually fixed. That was not expected. It is still buggy. I guess I'll shushed for a bit then on that. That might need looked at. Naughty scythe beam is still not working. Oh, my day is ruined. Found a bug in less than 15 minutes. Right, so that's all beams done. Next on the list we have pinpoints. There are only 2 changes to pinpoints, although they are to everyone's favourite pinpoint. It is the Misericordae and Stiletto that have been changed. So let's pull these up. So Misericord, unfortunately it's a bit slower now. It's had a speed nerf, it's now 14 seconds for a reload instead of 13, and it's now really expensive in stores as well, as 80 scrap for Misericord, and Stiletto, I'm not sure if you'd regard this as a buff or a nerf, but it's also more expensive, it now costs 95 scrap, so kind of on the pricey side now. But otherwise Stiletto is unchanged, it's just that Misericord is a bit slower. Let's abuse the Mantis again. So Misericord is actually really similar to Stiletto in terms of rate of fire. Once you get the reloaders, there's not actually much of a difference between them now. Oh, high kicks. So, Misericord. I think these are both balanced now. The price increase is actually good. For Stiletto particularly, if you pick this up and don't want to use it, I guess the price change is a buff, because you can sell it for more scrap now. With Misericord, I'm a bit conflicted. I think if I pick this up, most of the time I'd want to use it, so it's probably not. Anyway. Next on the list we have bombs. There are 3 bombs that are changed. We have Crystal Lockdown, and 2 changes in one with the medical bombs. So let's go pull up ourselves some crystal. The Crystal Lockdown is no longer the vanilla one, it has new stats. So instead of just doing nothing and being a complete meme, this actually does something now. So Lockdown Bomb, it's relatively similar. It does now require a power, but you know, that's fine, because it now does something. It does a point of system damage, and it does a bit of crew damage. So this is quite good for if you're going to board, you fire this at the room, and it can damage the crew before you board and lock the room down, so it's probably quite useful now. It's less frustrating to find. And then the other change is a removal and a buff. So instead of having 2 heal bombs, we now have 1 heal bomb. So we have 1 heal cluster, which has no power. It takes just 5 seconds to power up, and it heals for an awful lot more. So it's 3 bombs that heal for 225 instead of 3 bombs that heal for 45. So when you're boarding, this thing is incredibly reliable for keeping your crew alive. I'd strongly recommend this if you plan on boarding with a med bay. It's a bit of a panic button. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to get a teleport up. And we'll board the Mantis. Oh. Try it again. So we'll send these dudes over and we'll demonstrate a new healing bomb. So we'll let them get beaten up for a bit. It's a shame they didn't generate a med bay, but whatever. So Lockdown Bomb. Guess we'll hit these with it. That's good for a defensive tool now, actually, now that I think about it. Because it does system damage, but anyway, these dudes are a bit injured. I need to get injured more, so I need these Mantis to go away. Little shards, little healing bomb. Can you go back to your own ship, please? Thank you. There you go. Mega healing explosives. Back to full health. Exactly what you want. So yeah, now when you go to the militia sector and you have a medic, show them that medic. You get a really good weapon out of it. So healing cluster is your best friend. And then past that we have energy. So energy weapons haven't had a huge amount of changes this update, it's just one. The relatively minor change to a weapon most people don't use anyway. It's changed to heavy energy. So it no longer does system damage, which makes it a bit less of an outlier, because none of the other energy weapons do system damage. So we pull this one up. As you'll see, it no longer randomly decides it's going to hit systems for 1 damage. So that property is now unique to the loot version of this weapon, the Duskbringer prototype. So look at that on the hotbar. For kernels, we have no changes. They are the same as they were last update. And then we have crystals. So there's 2 changes to crystals. I'll just find this. So they're not humongous changes for our crystal boys. It's just 3 weapons in total. And these are the blunt crystal burst, but the red version. So look at this. So it now is consistent with the selling price structure. So if you decide you don't want it, it sells for a lot more now. It sells for 70. Which could be quite useful if you don't like it, and I know a lot of people don't like this, so that's good. If you found a crystal scatterer though, I have a bad news for you. It's a little teeny bit slower. It's not a humongous change. But it's now 1 second slower. Which is, I suppose, it's not a huge change, it's not. It's 1/17th slower. So most of the time you're not even going to notice it. And then there's a red version, same thing. It's now 18 seconds cooldown. As you may have noticed, they also have very pretty resprites. A lot of weapons have had resprites this update. Namely, a lot of beams no longer look a bit flat, they're looking really metally now. We've got the new bomb sprites, which I think we've seen a few of already. Yeah, like the sputum looks a lot more 3D now, which I like. So let's abuse some more Mantis, because that seems to be the running trend. Oh, it was a bug, it wasn't intentional. Well, there you go. It was a bug fix after all. I did figure that, because it was rather odd that there was just one random energy weapon doing a single point of system. As well, since we have these crystal shotguns out, they no longer randomly decide to fire crystals sideways. There's a lot of weapons that have had this fixed. So these, they fire straight. The Nightshade missiles, which is a boss loot weapon, that shoots the missiles forward now, and I think there was another one that I'm forgetting that had the whole sideways thing going on. But they're all shooting in the right direction now. They're not just randomly deciding to be edgy and fire things the wrong way. Which is nice. And this brings us onto mine launchers, another humongous change. So if you don't have a mine launcher, you're not delaying the fleet anymore. So mine launchers have a lot more value. There's not too many stat changes, it's mostly just that mine launchers do stuff. So let's just pull some of these out as a bit of an example. So we'll start with Geb. So Geb provides 2 fleet delay for 13 missiles. It's basically just what it was last update, but you obviously need a mine launcher to do it now. And if we continue onwards to our second mine launcher, if you decide to pick up an Osiris, you get 2 delay for 10 missiles. So as you may notice, there was a bit of a trend. Big mine launcher means good delay, but it doesn't mean we can spam them. If you keep spamming them, eventually you'll start to piss people off. Which, I mean, it totally makes sense. You're just trying to go out for a leisurely stroll and this idiot's putting mines everywhere, it's going to annoy everyone. So if you keep spamming these, eventually you'll find people get upset. It's just like real life, minefields make people unhappy. And then we have a little bit of change. I'm going to be very, very crude and say this is a buff to Nephthys. It makes more breaches, which is totally what we wanted. So I'm very happy we've buffed the free mine launcher significantly. Its fire chance is so small now it doesn't matter. You're just going to relatively consistently get a breach, which is what you wanted from this thing anyway. So it does its job better. It also provides 1 delay for just 3 missiles, so if you're desperate for that extra jump, Nephthys is your guy. Give you that jump real cheap. And if you decide to pick up an elemental mine launcher, you'll find that it's expensive, but you get 3 jumps per delay. So 17 missiles for 3 delay. This is the same across all of the elemental ones, so Sekhmet, the fire one. We then have Sobek, which creates breaches, it's like a big version of Nephthys. And then you have Anubis, which is your stun one. They all are the same. It's 3 missiles provides 3 delay, sorry, for 17 total missiles. Which definitely gets you more value. But if you decide that you want even more delay, and for some reason you have to spam it everywhere, the weapon you're looking for is now the Shard Launcher. It now has a very special use, and it looks consistent with its theme. It is a red boy now, it's an elite crystal weapon, and it will always provide you a delay without making anyone annoyed. No notoriety impact. You can spam this as much as you want and you'll get delay. You do pay a little more though, it's 5 missiles per point. It's more expensive than say Nephthys or Ra. But you can use it as much as you want. Or, if you decide that you don't want to spend any money for your delay, the weapon you're looking for is one that's been buffed a lot. The Vine Launcher. So it is now an elite kernel weapon, and with that, its replication chance has increased to 50%, up from 25 last update. It does have a really wide radius, but that's the price you have to pay for cheap stuff. And the main use for this, to be quite honest, is just to have it in your storage. It provides free delay whenever you require it. Just don't spam it too much, or they make everyone very upset. Let's load up some mine launchers and start spamming them. The good old-fashioned way. So as for overall thoughts on, well, only balance change really. Or balance changes, I suppose. Which are to Vine Launcher. So its radius is really thick. I think this is too much, if I'm being honest. You can't really aim at a room and breach it. So I think this is worse than Nephthys now. Like, quite substantially as well. Because the point with these as support weapons is to stop enemies repairing stuff, but they cost twice as much power and I can't even aim it? Like, what is this? I'd much rather be using this little number, which provides me lots of easy breaches. So, ironically, in spite of trying to nerf Nephthys, it's now substantially better than the Vine Launcher. In fact, it's substantially better than most mine launchers in general now. It consistently provides breaches. So I'll definitely recommend picking this up if you see Sylvan selling it. As for other mine launchers, I'd recommend the Ra, which I don't seem to have. I seem to have chucked that out of my inventory, but that's very good now. Because that's cheap. Or if you want big delays, I'd recommend Sekhmet, the fire one that starts on limit 3, because it offers enormous packages of delay. So you get the most out of your mine launcher before you start impacting notoriety. The hyperspace issue, I believe, was a little oopsie moment. Something to do with version numbers not quite lining up or something. It should be fine though. If you get the one out of the announcements tab, it's still fine. Right, so next category of weapons. We've done mine launchers, next is the conserving one. So there's only one change to our conservative weapon, but it's a welcome change. It's fixing a bug in a constructive manner. So if you ever wondered why you could never find this in a store, it for some reason had a rarity of 0, so you couldn't find the conservative missile anywhere. It was a bit of a shame. But now it's in stores, it is an uncommon item, and yeah, it's just a free missile that does what it says in the tin. 2 hull damage missile for no power. Consumes a missile. And that's all there is to that. And if I recall right, it also has accuracy and hull bust, so it's good. Next up we have ancient weapons. There's a few changes here, including some to enemy variants of weapons, so not going to be ones that you find out and about. In fact, why am I talking about ancient weapons? Oh, I've got a lance. I almost forgot the lance. Poor thing. Mistakes were made, oh dear. Oh, that's Lance 2, whoops. A bit preemptive there. Lance 1. And yeah, so are we regretting our Nephthys changes yet? Because it is unironically and statistically better than Vine Launcher, and I'm never going to live that down. The weeks of complaining about Nephthys being overpowered and we buff it. It's brilliant. Oh, poor rock. Oh, we bullied the rock. Whoops. Anyway, so Lance is the only new gen weapon with a change. So it now does fire and breaches. It's no longer a boring vanilla beam with no status chances. And it's also a teeny weeny bit longer, which is nice, I suppose. You might, in some situations, be able to hit another room that you might not have been able to last update. And it does a lot of damage. So this is sort of just like a Caliber 2, I suppose. And the fire is nice. That's all the new gen weapons. There are only 3 of them after all. For now. And we'll arrive at ancient weapons, to the changes that everyone wanted. Harbinger is no longer overpowered, which is nice. It is now just a burst laser 2 with hull burst. So Harbinger will no longer utterly wreck people. It also means if you pick one up though, you're not going to utterly wreck the enemy, so it goes both ways, I suppose. There are wrecked versions of these weapons, but they're not in the game yet. So that's an interesting thing for later. And then we have Carnage, which you've probably seen if you look at the Sneak Peeks channel. Carnage is looking a lot more swag. So you'll definitely know you're in danger when you see this thing. Instead of it being some tiny little slender boy, you will discover that Carnage is absolutely hench this update. It is just giant missile launcher. Unfortunately, the giant swaggy size did come with a nerf, so it does 6 damage per shot instead of 8, which it did last update. So 3 missiles. So Carnage is a bit less broken. You're not going to find yourself getting one shot by this missile anymore. But it looks dope. And the Anointed is no longer going to surprise people with a tiny little slender black package that produces a magical pellet that instantly eats your shields. So that's wonderful. It conveys its sense of danger better. And here's one that you might not notice at first. The enemy version of Payload has had a change. So if you've ever wondered why enemy versions of Payload are annoying, it's because they used to use 1 power. Now they use 2. They are 1 second quicker than your payload, but as late in the game as you are when you find these, you're going to have something, reloaders, or if you're really lucky, pre-igniter or something, or even just better weapons than a payload. But it's 14 seconds, 2 power. It does also mean it'll be easier to take these offline if you find them on enemies. I seem to be running out of power, so let's get ourselves a battery. We'll upset a Mantis bomber with weapons that are really strong. If you're wondering about what the Onslaught does with the mine changes, so as you know, mine launchers, they provide delay, now it's your only source. Onslaught's really good at it. It's the same as it was previously. It's for regular mine launcher though, not for ancient ones. So this is actually technically not the best mine launcher for delay. It provides 2 delay for 7 missiles. But other than that, it's unchanged. And we've got a few more down at the bottom. If we continue to scroll down, there is a weapon that a lot of people remember as being really terrible. The Havokizer Beam. So the Havokizer Beam, previously, it didn't really do anything for you, it just made a big mess. But now, we make a big mess and we do system damage. So this is sort of like a ancient particle beam now. So it will definitely be a lot more useful. And if you happen to get on the wrong side of a certain pink battleship, you will find that it has a very nasty surprise waiting for you. The royal version of this weapon is no joke. So the Royal Haberkaiser, it's obviously not one that you can pick up as a player, but if you encounter one of these, it is very, very dangerous. It now has 2 shield piercing, up from actually having 0, and it does 3 system damage, so it's really nasty. That's all the changes for weapons. As for other ancient changes, there is one last change to go over, and it's the artillery. Now I'm not... Oh, that's the wrong one. Is that the wrong one? That is the wrong one. Where's the one with 50-second cooldown? There we go. Oh, let's crash laser. What am I doing? Ancient... Oh no, haha, it's the other way around. There we go. Ancient artillery, the big brick. Base cooldown went from 40 seconds to 50 seconds on this. So if you're playing Ancient A, its artillery is a little bit weaker. Although to be honest, I wouldn't be complaining. It's still 11 system damage on a beam, which is, yeah, it's quite something. You hit an enemy with this, they're screwed. So it's a pretty balanced change if you ask me. No more yeet beam. And that's all of our ancient changes. Let's harass some totally not prepared Mantis. So, new payload. Of course you miss. You're disappointed of a weapon. Why? New carnage animation is cool though. We get a look at this. Oh, right. Point of reference: do not use carnage on speed. You'll end up with this, and this is. Oh, I don't know why it does this. Let's put speed back to... I forgot that was a thing. Anyway. Carnage, new... I just have to wait for the new animation. There. Try missiles out. It's pretty swaggy animation. Get ourselves a Haberkaiser. Actually, I didn't fire that, did I? God damn it. Ancient weapons are too efficient. Their own good. So we get a new artillery. It's still just as strong. It still yeets everything. And then Haberkaiser once it's ready. It is a little particle bomb. Enemy ships will be a little upset if you point them at it. Because that system damage will add up very quickly. Which I think means it might be a weapon you consider using in the ancient sectors now. Instead of being something you just toss away when you find it. So yeah, ancient weapon changes. Oh, you can actually obtain the ancient royal Haberkaiser, I didn't know. Interesting facts of the day, let's see as well. So we've got quest weapons. Ah yes, the Sylvan nerf. This was very funny. We nerfed Sylvan. His uplifted laser is now a 12-second reload instead of 11. Which is very funny. And he gets more breaches instead of it being a... I think it was like a 90 to 10 split, it's now 80 to 20 on breaches and fire. You get slightly more breaches. Well, if you're getting hit by Sylvan's lasers, you're kind of dead anyway. I don't think that's gonna... It's not gonna matter too much. You're screwed either way. Very, very, very dead. So we'll also get Waker 0.5. So Waker 0.5, it has a very big spread radius now. And it also has a much lower fire chance, so if you're a fan of that, kinda sucks to be you this update. But that just brings it in line with the regular Chain Vulcan, which it technically is. It's just a Chain Vulcan that a slug decided to modify, so it now fits the profile of a slightly better Chain Vulcan. Although weapons that did definitely need buffed, this stupid salt launcher that everyone hates is now a little bit less crap, which is joy to all. Salt launcher will no longer give you crippling depression. It has a tighter weapon spread radius, it has more breach chances, and it's also a lot quicker. It now takes 12 seconds to charge up. So this thing's just less annoying in general. Picking this up will not make you disappointed. And last on our quest changes is a Cyclopean beam change, which is another quest weapon I can't stand. This was arguably the worst beam in the game, prior update. I don't think it's redeemed yet. It's 2 power now for the funny beam. We still retain our otherwise mediocre stats. And we do 45 crew damage, so it's still a crew killing beam technically. The breach chance is still the same. It's 2 powers to 3, so I could definitely justify using this more often. It's going to be less of a hassle to fit into your build when you pick it up. Which is neat, and it's still a good breach chance, so I guess you could say it's a unique version of the Ransour now. Sort of like the old version of Ransour. Which, now that I think about it, that's actually sounding really terrible. I should have considered that earlier. Whatever. Things to consider later, perhaps. But let's abuse another Mantis. Perhaps a bigger one this time. With quest weapons, we'll spawn a Sector 5 one. To bully. So Sylvan's new gun, it's not gonna... well... it's still dangerous. If you get loads of these thrown at you, you're kinda dead. But you have more time to break his Zoltan shield now. Although ironically that's not a fair change, because his Zoltan shield is really thick now as well. It's a lot bigger than it was previously. A change is a change, it's fair. A little bit of this for a little bit of that. Tit for tat changes. Let's fire our burst laser. And we miss. Oh well. And then we get salt. So the salt is now... it's quick, sort of. It's got decent spread, so you're not going to be whiffing with this as often. And yeah, I like salt now. I like this a lot. And then we have Waker. And I guess we have to fire the Cyclopean beam because I've been talking about it. So let's get this going. We'll fire one shot of this before we just eat and move on. So yeah, nice little Ransour. Oh, we're going to test Mantis out here. The crew kill apparently. Right, next section, what do we got? We have the loot weapons. Okay, so there's been quite a few changes here. As is the theme. Because there's been a change to the coalition, so let's change one of our weapons. We also have, finally, probably the most requested change of them all for loot weapons. The Federation Loot Heavy is no longer an utter disappointment. As many may remember, you complete that big quest at the memorial, and you got a heavy 1, and it was the most disappointing thing you'd ever pick up, and you'd never use it. Now, we've got a new weapon, so we've replaced the old Federation Heavy. Now it has a Federation Heavy 2. So it's 2 shots, better cooldown, more crew damage. So same sort of idea, but it's Heavy 2, so it's actually kind of good. And it has a long stun that is guaranteed, so this thing, when you pick it up, it might actually be something you use. And the theme of changes like that carries on to some other ones. There's one later that has a similar change. We have to talk about the Coalition loot. So, because the crystals are no longer part of the Coalition, the missile has been completely overhauled, so we no longer have a crystal mix. We instead have a Coalition version of the Eris launcher. So, versus a normal Eris, it does more damage, it has a better cooldown, it has more breach chance, and it's a stealth missile, so it has a whole suite of buffs over the normal one. So it's kind of strong. It's going to be quite nice to pick up. And then we have the Lost Sun Sector. Obviously it's a mine launcher, so given the theme of the changes, it's been changed. And it's been changed in a really good way. This thing's going to be probably the best mine launcher in the game now, if it wasn't already. So it provides 3 delay for just 15 missiles. It is absolutely hench as a mine launcher. My personal opinion is that this is better than Onslaught now, just because of the economy bonus that it provides. So I think it's the best mine launcher in the game. It still retains its absurdly high stats as well. It still does 180 crew damage per shot, and it still has good rate of fire, good firing projectile speed, so if you've got a Lost Sun Sector, definitely crew kill the transport. Get your hands on this, it's really broken. There is, however, a nerf to Lost Sun loot. If you get the other loot weapon, I did a run with this recently, the Lost Hades. So it's had a resprite, it looks dope, but unfortunately it costs 2 power now instead of 1. Which I suppose is fair. It was very overpowered, being 1 power for a missile, but it still retains its higher stats, so it still does 4 system damage, it still has a better cooldown, and it still has a guaranteed stun, so it is what it is. I think it's still probably one of the better loot weapons out there. And that'll be that with that one. More loot weapon changes. Now, if you remember the theme of the change with that Federation Heavy, what other loot weapon would you think you'd be rather annoyed to find? It would probably be... Oh. Whoopsies. It would be the Mantis Light Laser. When you found the Mantis Light Laser, it was a light one with 4-second cooldown. It just was not practical to put in your build when you found it, because you'd be later in the game, sector 5, 6 or 7. It wasn't very good. Now, you get a Light Laser 2 as a loot drop from the Mantis, which is a lot more useful for later in the game. And its buff is that it provides stun, guaranteed, it's faster firing, and it's guaranteed breach, so same theme as before, but on a light 2 frame, and it is really good. If you need shield damage and you don't have it when you pick it up, this is going to carry your run now. So Mantis Light is very good. And it can suppress shields on its own, which I'll demonstrate just now with this. Because it just has a really high rate of fire, and it'll break through shields on its own. So if you have a beam build, maybe, or maybe got a particle weapon, you need some shield damage, this is now your primary option. You pick this up, you'll be happy. Right. Let's get this Mantis out of here. I'm going to talk about things that aren't loot. Well, no, not yet. There's more loot, but we'll break it up, because this is quite a lengthy section. And I feel like the Mantis need bullying some more. As we were criticising them for that trash weapon. Right, next section of loot. So, as you may recall, there is a change to missiles this update. I think we can hover over Hades, you see it's got accuracy. This theme carries over to the next one, which is the Hermes, so it's the rock loot. So, Rock Hermes, it also gains 10 accuracy, like all of the other missiles. So that's going to be a little bit more reliable if you pick it up. And as the next one, it's the Anti-Bio. Probably one of the most forgettable loot weapons ever, the clan one. So clan Anti-Bio Laser, it now follows a similar sort of theme to the Toxic Pod Launcher. It does system damage rather quickly, which you may find quite useful. So you can use this as a sort of budget particle weapon, or a bit of a sort of like somewhere between particle and toxic pods. And it obviously still does a really large amount of crew damage. It's still a niche weapon. I do feel a lot of people are going to pick this up and not use it because it's a bit awkward to get going, but if it's your kind of thing, it's now better. And that brings us nearly to the end. So I think there's one that's been forgotten about here. And I'm going to get the original version of this out as well for comparison. So Dynasty loot, and I'm going to get the regular Ransaur out, just to put next to each other. So Ransaur obviously got buffed a lot this update. 16 seconds for a big breach beam. Unfortunately, the loot Ransaur hasn't actually been changed much. So they're very similar now. It's only a 1 second cooldown and 1 system damage between them, so they're not really... It's not really a weapon that's going to sell you. I do feel like this loot weapon could do with getting a little bit of love, because it didn't get changed this update. Whereas the regular Ransaur got thick buffs, so it's feeling a bit weak. But it's otherwise unchanged. It's still better than Ransaur, but not by much. And then there's one last loot change, which I think... one more loot change that must be talked about. My least favourite change of the entire update. What have you done to my beam? Why is it the colour of water? This just... no. My giant fire beam now looks like a beach, which is... I said from day one when I saw it I hated it, and I still do. You have a water fire beam, so enjoy the ember beam being blue. Said no one. Oh dear. But anyway, that's the last of our loot changes. We have a joke you want to finish. And then we get into boss loot. So there's only been one change here. There's been two, but I couldn't care less of the second one. I really couldn't care. Ion Hangar is slightly less trash, but I'm still not using it. So Ion Hangar, if I can find it. I'm trying to forget what this thing's ID is. Ion Chain Charge Gun. So the only change is it uses 3 power. Would I use it? No. I wouldn't recommend using it, it's still bad. Why is it bad? Because you have to wait nearly a minute for it to get going. It's like, no! Nobody wants to wait a minute for their weapon to get going, so... don't use this, it's still trash. Just because it says it uses 1 less power does not mean we should totally use it. It's a no-no. And then we have a buff that will make everyone happy. A buff to everyone's favourite weapon, the Big Ion. It's Big Ion buffs, man. The only buff is it sells for more, but I just love the fact that Big Ion gets buffed. It makes me very happy. Although I guess it's not buff if Sylvan's selling it, you have to pay more for it. So I don't know. Would you ever sell Big Ion? Probably not. You think you'd be a bit of a mean person if you're selling this thing, but... do be aware, you'll need 100 scrap for visiting Sylvan to buy it now. So don't shortchange yourself. Right, old weapons is the next category below it, no changes, so we'll just gloss over those. And then we get into the modular weapons, which have a lot of changes. Well, technically a lot of changes, actually 2, but we'll be very very nice and say that let's add a few. So there's a very specific one I'm going to pull out for this. Where is it? Right. Weapon. Weapon modular missile. So we need to talk about the modular missile. It has a new accuracy module, as is the theme of this update. There's a lot of accuracy going around. And there's also been a change to the biomod, so this is a good one to get to see both of the changes. So the biomod for mod missiles now does 90 crew damage. So your Hector weapons, they're going to be a lot more reliable. You know, you get your sail sector, you get your mod missile, it's going to do a lot more bio damage. And the accuracy bonus for modular missiles is 100%, so it gets never miss. So accuracy mod missiles are going to be quite something to behold, especially if you give them cooldown or lockdown. They can be very dangerous. Lockdown particularly will be very good for absolutely whacking crap out of ships. Right. Maybe not the bio though. The bio is still a bit overrated. Almost at the end. There's two more. So for our remaining weapon changes we have the artillery of Federation B. So as many may remember, I know it doesn't have a sprite here, but this mine launcher artillery had a bit of a front load problem. Because it only shot one mine, there was a good chance of it just whiffing. And that was really disappointing. But now, because accuracy exists, it doesn't miss. It's been given 100 accuracy. So if you fire a mine launcher artillery, it's gonna hit the enemy ship. It doesn't matter if they cloak, it doesn't matter if you get unlucky, it's gonna hit them. And it's going to hit them in the face pretty hard. Let's see, we go down a bit. So the other change, it's a much needed change to probably the worst artillery system in the game. The plasma thrower, it now has a cooldown of 30 seconds base instead of 40, which means that at max level I believe it is 15 seconds for your artillery fire. That sort of puts it on the same level as Ember Beam, but obviously massive. Because you'll fire a lot of shots out of this thing, and it spreads out quite nicely. So, we're about to set enemy ships on fire quite reliably with this. And then we get to the last change in the entire update for weapon balance. So I'll need to open DLC blueprints for this last change. Because there's a change to flak, only one Sag bit. Where is it? Oh, I'm looking in the wrong file. Haha! Funny! Because I can't remember the name of this one. Where are you hiding? Ah, scroll down a bit. Right, shotgun player. There you go. So if you're an avid fan of flak, like most people, now rest comfy in the knowledge that there is a flak plus for you. Probably not going to find it because there's that plus store that you hardly ever see, but there is a ship that starts with this weapon, so look forward to running into that. It's a flak one that costs 1 power, which is, yeah, that's a very fun flak right there. It's going to be very happy to see this. And that's the end of the weapon balance changes. So, yeah, I've arrived at the end of my little script. So lots of weapon changes, most of them very nice. So now we arrive to Q&A. Does anyone have any questions about the update with regards to weapons? So I'll get this closed off, and yeah, that's our balance patch notes for the update. It's the right mixture of stuff. If you're a fan of missiles, you're going to be very happy this update, because missiles have gotten accuracy, so they're not going to whiff as often. Do I like it? What, the balance changes? Yeah, I like most of them. Most of them are well deserved. Faster than needed. The only change I don't like is, well, right, I can show you. It's this blue thing, and I'm going to tell you immediately what I'm going to do, right? the first thing I'm doing when I finish the stream, I'm going to go into files and I'm going to replace that damn stripe with the red one. And I'm going to patch it immediately, because that is not, I'm not having that. It will be red again tomorrow. I'm going to sneak it into the stream tomorrow and it'll be red. And it'll be big funny. But, less scrap. I can't remember if there's less scrap this update. I think Kicks is around though. Did the small scrap changes actually go ahead or not? Because I don't remember. It was quite the ruckus. What is an FTL do? There's an FTL. Who knows what an FTL is? Oh, the UI changes. It was just to pretty it up a bit, to be honest. And I like it. Not sure. There is an add-on. Not sure if it's out yet, but there's an option to change the UI back if you don't like it. Hit the vanilla one back, but... And yeah, the scrap change did go ahead. It's not hugely noticeable though. The more noticeable change is the flagship one if you're playing on hard. The flagship on hard has a nasty surprise for you now. Which reminds me, is that in the weapon form or not? Flagship, where are you? Where is your new superweapon hiding? Phaser. I don't remember if it's actually in the weapon files or not. Don't think it was. It might be at the bottom here. No. But anyway, the most substantial gameplay change for you is going to be flagship surge on hard is actually quite strong now, but not in terms of system damage. It's fair in that it does more damage. So, what was the final figure? Was it 11 shots on hard instead of 7 now? It has flak, basically. To represent the flagship being in bad shape, mostly beaten up, it now sprays flak. So basically they're throwing its hull at you. The hull fragments don't... they don't really do any system damage though. It's mostly physical damage you're going to take from the flagship when it uses its power surge. But if you're playing on normal and easy, the flagship actually got easier this update, because the flak pellets don't do system damage. If you do get hit by the power surges, they're not actually going to do anything. Right, so notoriety changes. So this is to do with mine launchers. In the previous update, you could just take these mine launchers, you could jump around like an idiot and spam them everywhere. Now obviously, if you're making minefields in the middle of people's sector, they're going to get kind of pissed off. So if you keep spamming mine launchers, past the third usage of a mine launcher, you will start to get negative notoriety with the sector you're in. So it's a bit of a logical change really with the notoriety. And eventually, if you keep spamming it, you're going to have a bit of a problem. So the flagship flak projectiles shoot at a similar sort of speed to normal projectiles. Although the one thing I will say, the unintentional buff to the flagship on hard is that defense drone's going to get roasted by them. There's a pretty good chance your defense drone will get destroyed by the surge now. Notoriety. No, the only notoriety, if I recall right, that matters just now is the Federation one. I think you get a arrested ending or something if you get too much negative notoriety with them. So, I don't know. And maybe sector guards if that's implemented, I'm not sure. It's not huge changes yet. Later down the line it will matter more though. And yeah, the theme of Phase 3 is a DPS race, so if you're playing a ship like Crap Bucket, you're going to have a really terrible time with the flagship now. So low hull ships are going to be pain. New endings, I don't think there are any new endings this update. Legion 1 isn't this update, and then there's the Rock one, I don't think so either, so no, it shouldn't be any new endings. Well, there's technically something akin to an ending, but I'm not going to spoil that because I think we'd upset certain person if we did that. There's a special something waiting for you if you really want. But it does mean, and I'm not going to say how, but I will say you can legitimately unlock Sylvan's ship now. It does exist. You can do it. It is not easy. And actually finishing the sector is going to be a bit of a challenge, but his ship is legitimately unlockable. I might make a guide for it later on. And you get something very funny for finishing that sector. So yeah, that's all we have. I'll take 1 or 2 more questions, maybe. I might even see if anyone on Discord has any questions about the update. I'll just answer them. The Obelisk boss, that would be the Dreadnoughts. I can't remember, does the Royal Dreadnought have a Havokizer on it? If it does, it might have been buffed slightly. I think it was a Harbinger it got, not Havoc, so I don't know, I don't think so. They definitely haven't changed like the way the artilleries work, although the Royal Artillery on Extreme is no longer resistant. So the second Dreadnought is slightly easier on the max difficulty. As for the boss for Sylvan, that has been completely overhauled in what it drops and how it works. It's more of a quest now, a proper quest. And you'll find a new villain waiting for you when you try to rescue Sylvan, who you'll probably spot running around quite frequently. There's a new NPC flying around the multiverse who will harass you with beams. And when you go to rescue Sylvan, you'll find the dreaded Beam Master. And the Beam Master is quite something. If you beat the Beam Master, you will get a very, very strong beam, but I'm not going to spoil that. You'll have to find that one on your own. And then the final flagship, so MFK flagships, last thing from our ancient ending, that has been changed. It has flagship properties, basically. So it has a time limit. It will run away if you break its engines, so you need to kill the flagship. You can't just leave it sitting there anymore. And it has a flagship power surge. It uses lasers. I believe it is 6 lasers that it fires. I could be wrong. It's not something I looked at the files that much, but it does have power surges, so be aware of that. So the crystals leaving the Coalition, that was always a temp. They weren't meant to be there, it was meant to be leeches. So Coalition ships will now have leeches on them, and you'll find the leech unique sector, which will explain a lot more about the leeches and their involvement. But crystals are now, they've been booted out, the crystals are gone. That was the whole joke of crystals getting removed. They're not getting removed from the game, they were getting removed from the Coalition, but we never specified. So that's the whole thing. And the Coalition ships have been resprited as well, so they no longer, as far as I'm aware, they no longer have Crystal Vengeance on them. So you're not going to get harassed with angry crystals when you go to Coalition sectors anymore. It's definitely a nice change, because I don't think anyone enjoyed 20 Crystal Vengeance projectiles coming at them when they used beams. It was definitely a bit cringe. So that's gone. As for well, I'm going to do an infinite dive. I'm going to do an infinite dive as a day-long stream. I don't know when I'll do that. I might do that nearer Christmas time. I will do that at some point. There's actually someone quite recently did an infinite dive. They did it in 4.11. I don't know if anyone saw that. I might just pull that up just now. Because someone did something very amazing with the infinite dive. They set a brand new high score for Multiverse. So I'll just pull this up. put it on my desktop and I'll show you. So, infinite dive progress. I think it was the prototype C they used. And they did something very special. I don't know if they streamed it. I don't think they streamed it, unfortunately, which would be the problem, but someone did, an infinite dive. They got more than 90,000 score, and I believe they were over 50,000 scrap. It took them multiple days. I don't think I'm going to be doing an infinite dive that long. I think it's a bit much for me. What I might do is a century run, so 100 dives a sector instead, because that's a lot more reasonable. And yeah, so that's the new high score to beat. If you actually want to do an infinite dive, that's just got to be 91,590. I believe it is, playing on hard, it's somewhere in the region of 70,000 scrap you'd need to equal that score, because it's 1.25? Oh no, it's 75,000 scrap, sorry. You're going to need to beat that score. And that's a lot of dives. If Magnet Arm is giving you an average of, say, 50 scrap later on in the run, you're going to need to do a lot of dives. And by a lot of dives, I mean nearly 2,000 dives to beat that score. So, if you like diving, you're going to have to give it a good effort to beat that now. The previous score was about 60,000. Oh gosh, a Zoltan C run. No, I think we'll do a proper ship for infinite dives. Zoltan C is not the vibe. There's that one, unfortunately. So I've run out of questions to answer, I think. Is there any more we can squeak out? Or should we move on? We've got 2 things left for today. Obsidian. Oh, that's a question that I haven't answered myself. Did Obsidian get accuracy? Questions that need answered. Wasn't in my notes. Oh, am I looking at the wrong file? Right, where is this? Missiles, Obsidian. Right, Obsidian, did it get accuracy? No. Oh, that's probably an oversight. That's definitely an oversight. Oopsies. Bug report time. Right, so Obsidian is a meme. Complete meme. 12 damage missile, horribly long cooldown, and it only does 12 damage if you fire it against hull, so it's kind of like Ares 2. Would I recommend it? No, not at all. The artillery. Right, so the artillery changes are good. Fed C's artillery is definitely worth investing. In fact, it's so good now that it pretty much can win on its own. You could probably do Fed C with no weapons in this update, at least until you reach the flagship. Because this is now 15 seconds. So if you get cloaking 5, you have time to cloak, fire your artillery, and burn things out before you leave your cloak. So I think the artillery on that is good. The mine launching one is reliable, but I still don't like it. It's a mine launcher, isn't it? It's not consistent because you can't aim it. So the system damage could just hit any old room and do nothing. So it's still a bit of a gimmick. I don't like it. And then the ancient one that got changed. I mean, it's a justified change, but it's still overpowered. And as for the ship, it's the Obsidian ship, you said. Right, so that is Rock C. Let's go find that. So, yes, Rock C has been buffed indirectly. it starts with an Ares Plus, but because Ares no longer uses 2 missiles, this ship has actually been buffed. So this is a lot more useful. You'll get a lot more out of this Ares Plus, and you won't be running out of missiles constantly. Obviously it still has obsidian armour. You can choose to upgrade it, or you can choose to sell it. I actually would recommend selling it. I know some people like using it, but I don't. And then we've got some changes. Changes as well. Ship changes. I know I wasn't going to cover these, but there are some noteworthy ones in this folder. So cultists are now blue. I don't know why the cultists have to be blue, but the cultists are blue. And Vortigern is missing from the cultist C. He's been replaced with a elite rockman, who is still pretty awful. They're just even thicker, but they're still not as good as, well, separatists, so I think they're terrible. So that'll be that. At least the ship starts with stems now, to get this stupid rock moving around. As for an infinite dive, I mean this is a good candidate, but not for Sector 1. If you're going to do a sentry run, you wouldn't pick this ship at all. Yeah. So other ships. As you may notice, there are a lot of ship changes to colour. So this one, it's now... What is this? It's like pinky, neon-y, yellowy stuff. So... it's interesting. Kinda. What other ships have had a colour change or change? Right, so there's been some other changes. This ship, Locus Microtoria. One of the issues with this ship was you had nothing to repair with. You had 3 warlords that they kind of just sat there and stared at problems and didn't fix them. Now, you have a Seppi boy, so this ship is ridiculously overpowered now. There's been some other changes as well. Suzy ship actually has an NG, so you can repair things, which is the theme for both of these. The bishop ships, there's the old bishop, this has been changed as well. It's less overpowered, so you get 2 instead of 3. Is that? Speaking of separatists, I hovered over one of those, didn't I? Okay, so separatists, no longer degenerately overpowered. They've had their health in nano mode significantly reduced. It's 500 instead of 1000, so take heed, they are not immortal. Well, from being real they still are, but they're less immortal than they were in the previous update. As for other crew changes, there's not too many of note. Those elite crystals that I've shown, as you may notice, they have 300 health now. They're still just factually worse than the NG Separatist because they're too slow and they don't do anything. They're just thick, which is not good. So, you know, Elite Rock is still trash. If I recall right, Cultists have been changed, but I can't remember what the numbers on those are. Crew is not really my area of expertise. I'm a weapons dude. It's weapons I normally cover. But there are some ship changes to be found if you look close enough for them. A couple of overpowered ships have changed. Some elite ships have changed. Can't remember which one is it that's been changed? This one. Big chonker. Less starting crew, but it has useful drones. So it has Pierce drones, which I think makes the ship degenerately overpowered as well. Starting with 2 Pierce drones is not balanced. So this thing, invest in a drone system immediately and wreak havoc with it. Other ships with changes we have, I'm fairly sure, yeah. We finally have a ship with an MFK Ace on it. We have an MFK Ace aboard the cheat code now, so you can legitimately obtain one as crew. And these ships don't have them. I don't think any of them have them. But there are such a thing as rebels now. And if you find rebel ships, like legitimate ones, not hangar ones obviously, I think I can just spawn one in. And does someone want the UI? So this one now. This menu is the same, but this now has a different interaction. If you select this blue option, the amount of text and events will increase, so you'll learn more about your environment. I can't remember if they've implemented the extra text yet or not, but that was the idea. I guess we can get our defense lasers out, because that was a balance change. It sells for more, and it looks pretty now. The amount of resprites that I couldn't keep track of, a lot of weapons that look nice. Weapon... I said, was it gold shotgun? Is it shotgun gold or gold shotgun? No, it's gold shotgun gold. So gold flak looks better. I'd still sell this, if I'm being honest. It's not had a change to its projectile speed. I'd still say it's trash. And that does not change with... I will warn spoilers here. Is it 3 or 2? It's 3. Gold flak 3. That exists. I'm not going to tell you where you find it. But... there isn't... if for some reason gold flak is not enough really slow chunk of gold for you, there is a big version of it somewhere to be found. It's 10 shots in 25 seconds if you include its travel time. In fact, it might even be more. I think it might be nearer 30. But gold flak 3, they're both bad. I'd sell both of them because their travel speed hasn't been changed. And just before we go, I'm gonna... I think it's just rebel. Yeah, rebel. Rebel! So yeah, if you find rebel ships, they're not going to have humans aboard them. They're going to have rebels. Rebel soldiers. There's a crew. I can't remember. There it is. Rebel medic. There we go. So, disciplined rebel troop. It does 0.5 combat damage and has a heal bomb. I believe it is the same as your medic. If I get a crew medic. So yeah. Medic nerf. That's probably one of your biggest ones. Medics are trash in terms of boarding now. 0.5 combat damage is just too low to warrant usage. So don't board with them, use them for defensive purposes, which is what they were, I suppose, intended for, but it's a bit of a shame. And other than having a reskin, I believe these rebels are just the same as normal humans in terms of stats, so... yeah, it's most of the same. Other crew changes. Oh, haha, there is one more that's worth mentioning before we go. Not these. Whoops, I just flashed big spoiler. Whoopsies. Ghosts. So, spooky boys no longer fart uncontrollably, which is just amazing. If for some reason you find yourself in a position where you don't have stabilizer for your vagabonds, they will not violently shit all over the floor and ruin your ship by burning it and blowing holes in it with breaches. They've learned to control their flatulence. So, in order to start charging their ability, they need to take damage now. So, if you don't want their vagabond abilities, you're probably never going to see them. In effect, the crew lab turns the ghost ability on, because most of the time they're going to be at full health unless you're boarding, and it's not going to be constantly triggering, so early game with ghosts, less annoying. So if you like your ghost ships, enjoy this change. as for other ghost-related changes, the ghoul lab, the overpowered ghoul lab, is less ridiculous now. Where is it? I'll find one with ghouls. Pleasure C, where's that item? There it is. So if we go... Let's find an empty beacon to demonstrate this change, but we're a bit rich. Install the lab. We're gonna upgrade the lab, and we'll look at the ghost lab. So this is a big change for ghosts. So as you may remember, chemical proliferation was really, really, really stupid previously. I'll remove my little Q&A banner, it's currently in the way. But ghouls are no longer game-breakingly overpowered. Well, some of them are still really strong, but they heal at half the speed from fire from their ability. So they're not quite as indestructible in terms of regen. What other crew changes have we got? Oh, important change. If you've ever picked up a leech and wondered why they were useless, I have good news for you. Leech changes are here. Let's find a good ship with leeches. Get some normal ones. Is it going to be Leech B? There you go, 4-man leech. We'll go rich, and we're going to have a look at these. So, leeches finally have crew labs. So if you've been wondering why there's no crew labs for leeches, it's because they weren't implemented yet. So let's have a look at these. So we have 3 primary labs for your leech friends. It burrows, so leeches ignore doors and they dig under them, which allows them to go 50% faster through the floor, basically. And enemy ships' doors will not stop from moving around. So if you want more leech for your leech, you can basically turn them into a zoltan. So leech's ability is inverted. They provide power instead of taking it away, but in exchange they take a lot more damage from hazards, and they get stunned for quite a while on top of their usual downsides. So you can turn them into volatile zoltans. Or if for some reason you decide you want to watch the world burn, the new strongest crew lab is right here. Parasitic tendencies. So, this is the new game-breaking lab upgrade. If you install this, the enemy crew will get absolutely destroyed by your leeches. This is not. This is just so broken. If you ever wondered what happened if the pre-nerf ghoul lab did lifesteal, that's what we've got. Leeches in this update are the strongest boarding faction in the entire game. They are not balanced. You put them on a ship. I need to find a ship to fight. In fact, I'll just load the Mantis bomber. So given them parasitic tendencies, I've got 4 of them in the room to demonstrate how stupid this is. Just watch the enemy crew. This is not on speed, by the way. I'm going to make this very clear. This is not speed. This is normal speed. Just watch the Mantis melt and how quickly they heal. Leeches are so strong. If you have more than one of these, like you've got 4 of these in a room, right? The enemy crew just die. It's like a vacuum cleaner. The leeches are just make everything gone. Like, yeah, they're a bit volatile. I have 30 health, right? Just buy a clone bay and board with leeches. It does 12 DPS AoE. Which, it's just not okay. You can out-heal a Mantis with the lab if you have 4 of them in a room. They're obviously not very good on your own ship, which is the downside. They only have 30 health. So you've got to watch that, because that's looking quite dangerous. But when you board, these just make the enemy crew disappear so damn fast. And it doesn't stop them from taking system power, so you drop these in weapons. That's 4 weapon power gone from the enemy ship, and it just vacuum cleans all of them. So, yeah. Leeches are a force to be reckoned with. Thankfully, enemy ships don't have this lab. It's really overpowered, and I would never want boarded with these. But anyway, other minor changes, if I can remember them, we have brand new Hector C. No more Billy. Billy and Sylvan have decided to leave. Instead of an environmentally friendly one. The Knighted cruisers no longer feature knights. Instead we have this quote-unquote super elite crew that I think is trash. I think everyone has had the same sort of idea with this. It's not... I don't understand what this thing does, what it's supposed to do, but it's really bad. Basically it just automatically releases bomb, but I don't know, it's gimmicky and annoying. And then this version, obviously the unique crew no longer spawn on ships. They have their own ships now. So version B is fire starters, 2 of them. Another one of these weird knight things, which is just weird. And then version C has a ghost for some reason, and an absolute mess of weapons. So yeah, that's your new ships. You have a monk, you could name him Huggies if you were feeling very good for yourself. Let's just correct this here. And that's your C version, which I think other ships had unique crew. Sylvan is still on his own cruiser, he breaks the rules. But then, you couldn't really have Sylvan's cruiser without Sylvan, could you? A bit pointless. The salt ones obviously have Oben on them because they're salt ships. He is the salt man, but in general, if a ship had a unique crew member, you'll now find them on page 12. There's now a bunch of elite unique cruisers. The only one I have unlocked to start with is Jerry, because I got this last update. Each unique crew can now be taken to the true ending to unlock their ship. So, yeah. If you've ever wanted to ship your favourite crew member, you can now unlock one. If you like Freddy, Freddy has a ship, it's this one. If you like... that's Billy. The Anointed one's a bit obvious because it glows pink, which is funny. She's very easy to unlock, but there's more. Or those, and there's some on this page as well, because there's obviously a ton of unique crew. Oh no, these are the vanilla ones. What am I doing? Vanilla cruisers, yes. I can't remember the unlock requirements for these because I already have them unlocked, but if you ever wanted to see what a vanilla ship would look like in Multiverse, you can now play them. This is literally the vanilla hangar in Multiverse. Vanilla Lanius B exists. It's just to unlock. The unlocks are just unlocking them through their normal versions in Multiverse, so... To get the Type B Lanius Cruiser, you must win with the Type C Multiverse Lanius Cruiser. And then, I believe it's just... Yeah, the C's are the vanilla... You play the one of both of them, basically. And then these are to win with various cruisers that you find lying around. Like, if you want Lanius B, it is... Is that that? There it is. So you need to get a win with this ship. If you get a win with this one, you will unlock Vanilla Lanius B. And then if you read over them, you'll find that it's... You just gotta go around the Multiverse pages and find the ships corresponding to them, but in general, if you win with the Multiverse version of the ship, you'll unlock the vanilla one. And then the Type C's are just to play the B's of the vanilla. And the unlock requirements for the A's, I think, is just to unlock the Multiverse equivalent. So like for the Fed Cruiser, the unlock would be to unlock Plasma Thrower? So this one, yep, when you unlock this ship, you'll now get the vanilla one pop as well. It's quite neat. So that should be the end of ship changes. I don't recall there being any more of them. Ship and crew changes now. So we have arrived at the end of this section anyway. Unless there are any more questions for Q&A, I think we're looking a bit done today. Well, from this section. Any final questions before we go? I'll wait the fun part, I suppose. Doesn't seem like it. Right, so we'll just, if you have any more questions, I'll still try to answer them, but I think we need to crack on with some other things. So I'll get ourselves a display capture. Not that one. Oh my gosh. That one. I did the funny thing of sharing the wrong screen and showing OBS. Ah, very unfunny. Plans for YouTube. I'm going to be making some more guides. Speaking of guides, I made this one. So if you have any questions about weapons, obviously this is my specialty. I've spent a while during the playtesting sessions. 5.0, I made a weapons guide. So if you want a spreadsheet with all of the weapons on it, I've compiled that and put it into a Steam guide. Which I know is a bit outdated for today's standards, but it'll have everything you want, weapons-wise. That's what I did while the playtesting was going. We're going to throw that one out there. My plans for YouTube actually correspond to this guide quite a lot. I plan on making more guide-related content. Especially with this update having a lot of new stuff. I might make some unlock guides for the new stuff, because some of it is quite complicated. Especially the Sylvan Cruiser unlock. You can get Stranger Danger now. It is a legitimate ship now. But the unlock is incredibly computed, so I will need to probably make a guide for it. Long term, though, I'm going to get a new microphone. Later down the line I'm going to get a camera. We're going to have a face cam eventually. I don't currently have a camera, so that's why we don't have face cam. But I'll get a microphone. The new one that's coming is going to be a lot clearer. I'm not sure about volume, it'll probably be about the same, but it'll be a lot less electronic crackle, which is nice. Okay, get ourselves some smoothness going. Any more Legion? If I recall right, the Shell quest that has a placeholder now has more. There should be more to that quest. But there's not too much. The Legion update is 5.1, so the next update will feature more Legion-related content. I'm looking forward to that. I think a lot of people are looking forward to that, finally being able to understand the Legion. Not this update, sadly. No, it's the next one. One thing I will say though about Legion is a lot of their stuff is in, so if you like asset diving, feel free to peel open the multiverse files to take a look, because there's a lot of stuff to have a gander at. So there will definitely be Legion content. There's going to be a lot of Legion crew coming in, and they are very strong. They're going to give you a run for your money. Because there's a... probably shouldn't spoil too much, but there's a flamethrower. I think the flamethrower will be very fun. I think a lot of people are getting frustrated with that flamethrower. Being real though. It's very strong. Anyway, let's take a look at... Hold on. Oh, I was going to say, that's coalition crew as well. What's this? But I thought I'd found an oversight for a minute. It was a crystal on the coalition ship, but no. I didn't read my label properly. If we're going to Tony.Sr. just now. I'm going to do 4 of a kind with him. Because he's the leech that everyone's been talking about, really. So it's time for Tony. And we'll finally be able to get a look at what he is, because if you've been following Multiverse, you've probably seen the emote for him going around everywhere. It is indeed the funny pissing leech. That is his whole gimmick. He is a nasty leech. And we'll get some in-game music going again after a while. So yeah, Tony.Sr, the evil leech. We'll do 4 of a kind with him to finish off this lovely little session here. So everyone's seen him, everyone knows him. The fat leech is here. So yeah, we'll get some fat leeches. So, Fat Leech is here. What does he do? He is basically answering a question of what happens if we stick the leech and the vampweed together, and that is Tony.Sr. He is just chonky. And he does bonus damage to a variety of crew types, including ghosts and drones. And yeah, he just does lots and lots of damage. He is, however, fat and slow, so... I know, nobody asked that question on the Q&A, but... Fat Leech is he is slow. Like, look at this, look at the wiggle. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. He's so silly. It's time for... It's time to restart the run, boy. Oh no. That was a moment right there. I was going to show what they did, but we lost to Tony.Sr before we even started the run, which is no good. Oh, Sylvan, yes, Sylvan has changed. Sylvan has decided that it's time for him to become dummy thick, so his Zoltan shield is now girthy. It has a lot of health. If you want to upset Sylvan, you're going to have to try pretty hard now. He also has some fancy new technology. It also gives him ludicrous amounts of damage to invading crew. So boarding Sylvan is pretty much a no-no now. It's very much a case of you need weapons with fire and not boarders. Even fire ghosts are not safe from this grid. So leave Sylvan alone unless you know what's good. It's a very dangerous slug now. And yes, selling missiles has been nerfed, which I think is a bit sad, but yeah. Weapon changes be weapon changes. The update brings good ones and bad ones, and Sylvan being thick, I suppose, is good, because he's not meant to be a pushover. And now he definitely is not. So what else will we get here? A store, since this is an actual run now. They didn't buff Tryon. You know what? That's probably the biggest oversight of this update. This damned Tryon is still trash. It's still factually worse than all of the other ions. I don't know why. It's so bad I won't even take it. Instead I'll take nothing? I ate something. Was good. You know, I guess we're forced to take Tryon because I have nothing. This is a crew-based ship. Anyway. Let's go onwards. Hopefully we'll find a ship. Nope, I can't fight this ship. I am disappointed. Can we finally... I want a ship, right? I want to fight a ship. Fight... Oh, gosh. Will we ever find a ship I can board? Finally, I can board this ship. Tony.Sr. Right here. Just... the damage! Oh my gosh. Right, the damage is quite something. And they regen on their own, which is, yeah, Tony.Sr. exists. He is very hench for a leech. He makes rebels go bye-bye. Well, he makes everything go bye-bye. I don't know if his ability stacks or not, I'm assuming it does. Like most things, but... it's strong. Oh, look, the particle beam that got nerfed. We'll not buy that. We'll buy something better. Dirk is better. Dirk is a real weapon. Dirk and pre-ion. That's early game in a nutshell right there. That is really good. And then, oh yes, weapon of the day. This exists. I completely forgot this has existed. If you are unsure what weapon you want to take a risk, you can now get a weapon with a discount. So for 33% off, you can get a random shit. The good news is, because they're cheaper than normal, they can pretty much be sold back for nearly no scrap loss, so you don't lose much picking these. We'll just take a gander at 36. So this is Corbin. It costs 36 and it's sold for 27, so I haven't lost much. A weapon of the day only run sounds like a fun gimmick. Might have to do that at some point. We also have augments. Improved armories is one of the new ones, as is the antivirus module that's been changed. So antivirus module has been combined with the anti-hacking augment. So this now disables hacking systems and satellite hacking, and it gives blue options, and it's only 30 scrap. But all of the system disabling augments are now limited, they only last 30 seconds, which I think is a terrible change, but anyway, we'll gloss that one over. Shield jammer is not useful anymore. An engine disabler definitely is not. I mean, sure, most ships don't have many engines, but these augments having limited amount of time for their usage is just not useful. At least not if you're using slow weapons, so... Rest in peace to people like Changers and Chain Vulcans and that sort of thing. These augments will pretty much do nothing for you now. Which is sad. And then we have improved armories. The luck roll to find this in the first store was crazy. This provides a lot of blue options, and it provides 30% range damage, so if you're a boarding ship, you now finally have an augment to boost your damage. It's the #1 augment. In fact, it's so good, I'm going to sell my thing for it. There is a sneaky benefit to this that perhaps should be stated because it's really stupid. Because of the way the AI works, you can use this augment to absolutely degenerate proportions with ghosts. Simply take your ghost, walk through to the next room, and then use this range damage to murk things. It's really funny. And in general, it will make your boarding a lot better. It's like that Thorn Slab for the Orchids, but it applies to literally everyone. Also, wait a minute, this ship doesn't have shields. How did I not notice that? Oh my god, this ship's really full of leeches. I did not notice the ship had no shields. What is this abomination? Hold on. Serious question. Level 1 cloaking, no shields? Is this a joke? Is this an oversight? Like, what is this? That is no good. I guess we picked a trash tier ship for the run, but... Oh, there's no sensors as well. What is this mess? Nah, I don't like this one. Hopefully it won't screw me over, but... Because we have overpowered leeches, but... I'm not a fan of that. I hadn't noticed, but... Oh my gosh, drones. Roll on the drones, ruin my day. Ah! Other thing to note. Other than fat leech moment. Pre-ion. Now I haven't picked this up in a while. It doesn't work properly on speed. Which is kind of unfortunate when I'm playing with Tony.Sr. because I kind of need the speed, but... Pre-ion only does 4 damage on speed. It's a bug to do with the beam function, which I'd kind of forgotten about. I probably shouldn't have picked this up, because it's going to drive me nuts having to play on 0 speed. With Tony.Sr. of all things. Gosh, look at that wiggle. That wiggle is the slowest thing you've ever seen. He does not move in a hurry. Man, it feels weird to play on 0 speed. As you can see, Tony.Sr. is just like a giant mouth. He eats everything. Everything will be munched. Munched. And then he heals on his own for leech reasons. I don't know why leeches have regeneration. That's never actually been explained in the lore. It'd be interesting to know what that's about. But anyway, Elite Rebel. Ah! You probably spotted it already. The Elite Rebel has been nerfed. It now has 1 shield. So if this thing's ever trolled your terrible ship choice, worry not, because it is now good. What is up with pre-ion? It's not... I'll overlook that for a minute. Let's do some boarding. Deploy the Tony.Srs. Look at this damage. We've got improved armories. In less than 2 seconds flat, it's just dead. Oh, there's a dude on my ship. Get off my ship. Go Tony! Tony race! Wiggle, 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 wiggle. And then human is dead. And we'll chase him around. Where is he hiding, do you reckon? Is he piloting? Perhaps? No, he was in weapons, fixing weapons. Oh well, I guessed wrong. Anyway. What did we get? We got a halberd. Yeah, halberd after nerf feels kind of bad. I'm probably never going to use that again. It's too slow. For its own good. It was borderlinedly too slow on the previous update, from being real. 17 seconds is a long time to wait for anything. But for a beam, it's like, nah. It just ends up holding up all your weapons. So, yeah. Oh, here's the new sector map. More new things for 5.0. Not the most interesting map, I must say. There's a chance we'll see the new sector here, Or, well, there's one nebula for the other new sector, but it's very unlikely. So free Mantis sector, this is my... Is this just the best sector? Probably. Alright, let's whack this. Sadly, if we get bored, there's not much I can do. This is actually kind of annoying. Let's get the wiggly wiggles back in the teleporter. So Tony.Sr is, I believe, the slowest crew in the game. He just very slowly wobbles around, which is a bit depressing. When you thought the Rock Crusader was slow, this guy is, he had to break some records in the wrong way. But once I get a clone bay, I'm going to put his very funny lab on for the health draining, and then we'll see something truly degenerate. Because the health draining is a type of damage, and he has a damage multiplier. And I believe they stack multiplicatively, which is quite danger. Boarding again. Do we need doors? Is that what I've discovered? We require the door system. Right, let's say no to this. Cloaking. It looks as though they're going to be a past. How many? Oh, it's 2 soldiers. Can this leech survive? Kinda. We'll have to hold out, I suppose. Tony.Srs are on the way to help. Send them back, and we'll begin. We'll begin the leech. Yeah, better. And do we have enough scrap for shields? It's 125. Yeah, we need a shop now. Show me the shop, because I need some shields. Not having shields is no good. Oh, oversight. Rebel slave is not a rebel. That right there is a bug. Well, sort of. You should be a rebel. Anyway, you're not a leech, so I have to make you a leech. Become a leech. I guess you can man doors, because we seem to have a lack of doors. It is becoming a problem. I'm getting boarded constantly. Right, bomber. Oh, not more boarding. Why? Man. Oh, okay. That. Never mind. The boarding's not too bad. There. That works. Mantis, you are not a leech. Become leech. I'll end up with 4 of those. Maybe get some more Tony.Srs later in the run, but with the scrap changes actually probably won't, because you get less scrap, and quite a lot less scrap later in the run. Oh, another... What is it with boarding? The one crew type that cannot deal with boarders is fat and slow, and it's border, border, border. Stop, please. I've got a better idea, let's just smite. A warlord, wow. Yeah, look at that warlord with his pheromones up, gets defeated by Tony.Sr. That was risky though. That's a question I didn't have an answer for. How strong is he relatively, but if you can take a warlord out with Tony.Sr, I'd say he's pretty strong. Especially with his pheromones turned on. That's impressive. Impressive girth, my little leech friend. More... Wait. Oh no, leech ability. Well, that's awkward. .5.0 is out? Yep, 5.0 came out 2 hours ago, I believe. Roughly. Oh my god, don't kill Tony! Ree! Right, Tony. Tony the Fat Leech has succeeded. Boarding objective successful. Let's finish the job. 4 Tonys, 1 Mantis. It's a recipe for death, my dude. We'll get 1 more jump and then we'll be leaving. A gift? Nice. So let's install our lab. We'll get the brand new Leech Crew Lab. Parasitic tendencies. This should be a secondary lab and it should cost way more. It is not balanced, and I am proud to say we're going to win the run very easily now. Because it's stupid. Oh, haha! Deconstructor, one of the new augments. Don't buy it. If you ever find one though, that's great. You know all those missiles that you have nothing to use for? Now you can turn them to money. I don't think it's very much. I think it's like 3 per missile and 5 per drone part or something. But that thing's fun. Particle 2. Talk about weird things that got changed this update. It's a shame I can't afford it, because I would actually buy it just now. Sell the Mantis pheromones. I don't think I can power it. Should I? You know what, I will. It's not often I get to use this. The Particle 2. The strange one. So turn the medbay off. Gosh, I have a mess with power. And yeah, it's quite the time to come back to Multiverse. If you haven't played it for a while, the update's new, got new ships, new stuff. The best event in the game, let's go. We found it on the first run, how lovely. More free Mantis or... Auto Scouts? No. Auto Scouts have been buffed. This sector right here This is the most dangerous sector in the game now. Never go to the auto scout sector. Like, leave the auto scouts alone. They're so overpowered, they're just not worth fighting anymore. Just don't engage with auto scouts. Avoid them at all costs. Auto scouts are the strongest ships. Because they have a very stupid upgrade now. That makes you unable to board them, basically. So, we leave them alone. Righty. Looks like we're not boarding them, they're boarding us. Hello, rebels. Would you like to suffer? Look at that vacuum cleaner go. So anyway, pre-ion particle 2. Pretty savage if you ask me. And we've already discovered the problem with this stupid change. I want to turn their shields off, but I can't because it can't bloody aim. This is just disappointment. They're going to get their shield back up and then we're not going to hit them. We'll have to board them. Stupid changes, man. Why you got to do my particle like that? We barely got him. Yep, that's their shields going up. We're going to have to board. This is just awkward having to wait for the Tonys. We'll eventually get there. Anyway. Oh, unfun. So leeches with this lab are very fragile. I need that. What's it called? I need the upgrade for fire suppression, because they pretty much can't put fires out. Because they have no health. It's the price you must pay for ultimate power is fragility. With these leeches, and I took way too much damage this fight. Can they actually fix this? No. Crap. I've created a situation I can't fix my doors. Well, this is awkward. And these guys are so fat, I don't think they get environmental resistance either. Let's just dip our toe in the water. How much damage are you taking? Yep, that is a lot. I can't fix the doors. It's a bit of an oops, if I've ever seen one. I'm going to need to buy Medbot Dispersal. Which is not a good upgrade anymore because you can't get level 4 medbay with it. So don't buy medbots. Medbots are bad. But I need them because I've got myself a bit stuck. Let's get Medbot Dispersal. Is this enough? No. Damn it. We need respirators as well. Unless they can somehow squeak it. No. Well, we just don't have doors, so if we get fire, we might actually get crew kill. Maybe Sylvan can save me. What do we got? Ooh! Now this is something. Very interesting. Crystal scatter I can't afford. If only. And a heavy 2. Or an elite heavy 1. These are all things that I need, but I can't afford. So, no. I've also realised I can't reach my shield system to fix it because the doors are broken. And I have a leech lab, so this run might not last long. Oh gosh, look at those weapons. This run will not last very long. That is a big rip. can't turn those off. Hello, Warlord. That's an interesting quirk. The vacuum cleaner lab upgrade applies when your crew are mind controlled. Very interesting. That does not seem intentional at all. Oh my gosh. Stupid leech ability. We're in major danger. I think we may just have to commit die. Looking at this. All my doors are open and we have... Gosh, imagine if we get boarded and they break a door into an airlock. It deox my whole ship. Respirators, please. Ah, good, we can get it. Right, so we're not dead. I've purchased the respirators, we now can enter deoxygenated environments. And we don't die very quickly. So yeah. The run did not end. That noise is horrifying. Shut the doors! Open the doors. Now the ship's fine. And we're alive. Praise be for free Mantis sectors being decent-ish. Right, so shield's back on, we're in less danger. Let's continue. We've got 4 jumps. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we'll leave. Hopefully we'll find something interesting. Maybe that recycling bomb that the Mantis, free Mantis are famous for. We get that. That'd be good. Nope. This is not good. Engine booster? What do you need an engine booster for, you pussy? Just wanna run away. It's not a very good speciality, my dude. Anyway, this goofy weapon setup is quite nice. For one shot. Yeah, I could have done that, but I think, thinking for the future, if we get breached, and say they set my medbay, like they breach it and they break it, I need the crew to be able to fix that in the middle of combat. A bit more reliably. Because this is low on health, I mean, I need a clone bay is what I need, a backup DNA clone bay. Because these leeches are so low on health, they're just going to get killed by weapons firing at them, never mind. Anything else? And yeah, the leeches... I mean, the leech upgrade, it's power, but at what cost? And the cost is really horrifying. Man, how are these not burning to death? Is this thing really that low on fire chance now? Gosh. I mean, where are they hiding? Honestly, it isn't here. Right, set that on fire. Honestly. Oh, he's not in there anymore. I think he's burning. There we go. Lovely. Get my Tony's back. So the change to the HUD is just 5.0. So if you have the new update, you'll notice it looks very different. So, yeah, the new update that came out today If you don't have the update already, I think there's a link on the Discord. I'll go find it for you. Here it is. It is here. 5.0. So yeah, the mysterious HUD mod is finally available. So it's no longer just a playtester exclusive thing. Outcasts have a sector. Interesting that we found the non-unique version of it. So yeah, 5.0 is nice. I like it. Wow, I like most of it. Oh, hold on. The crystals. So yeah, this is the new faction. The Evil Crystal. So the SSLG, or Crystal Liberators, these are the Evil Crystals. They're also the reason why they're not in the Coalition anymore. Ow! Ouchies. Blimey. And yeah, the Tony.Sr. is quite something. The Fat Leech. I seem to set Fat Leech on fire. So this dude's a unique crew, part of the update. His whole deal is, basically he farts and everything around him gets weak. That's his unique crew perk. And rumours have it he has unique methods of fire extinguishing as well. But that was cut content, thankfully. Although rumour has it there was a playtester version with the old fire extinguishing animation. That is true. Such a version of the game does exist, with the old fire extinguishing animation, which I would describe as extreme cringe. It's more cringe than the 30 health leech. Oh, so my god, are they not dead yet? That station must be completely burned. How are they not dead? What? Become on fire, my dude. Yeah, the leeches, they do be like that. I mean, imagine being a crew with 30 health. You know, like, you literally die to a small bomb. Like, that is not something to be proud of. Oh, I picked the... Haha! I'm gonna need to run very quickly. Let's hit that shield. Board. Set it on fire, my dude. Please don't set the leeches on fire. Thank you. You think 2 basic lasers is bad? Consider that a single conservative bomb or a single conservative missile is enough to break one of these leeches. Like, literally a 0 power weapon one-shots them. Like, that is pretty depressing. Also, I've just realised I'm trying to set rocks on fire. That is probably a futile effort, if I had to guess. They're probably not on fire. Momus, yeah. Even with Momus getting nerfed, it still one-shots the leeches. There we go. We need to get running, or we're going to get caught with the fleet. I forgot that event exists, and it's really terrible. Oh, getting the shield change. You're going to see ships with really dummy thick shields quite frequently in this update. So if you don't like have weapons with good shield pierce, you're not going to get very far. Oh crap, there are not enough leeches for Mantis. Whoops. Crew lab moment, not so good. Vacuum cleaner lab is not effective for 2 of them. March 4th. Now you say this with the weapon power thing, right? Enemy ships are allowed more than 8 weapon power. But there aren't any player ships except for Sylvan's ship that have more weapon power. Yeah, the leeches do be kind of beeping though. The leeches are curse. What's in the cargo? Mantis? Oh, where is he? Get him! Get him! Yeah. Now this is a cursed screenshot. I think we're going to need to put this in the memes channel. The Mantis has decided it wants Tony.Sr. all to himself. I mean, this is just cursed. But let's leave before I die of cringe. I mean, imagine wanting to have fun moment with leeches of all things. Like, what are you doing, Mantis? Oh dear. Fix me engines and let's leave before I die of cringe. Shields 2 time. Perhaps we'll stop dying so aggressively. I'll take a distress. This text is new, so I don't know what most of the events are. I've played it a little bit during playtesting. A leech pleasure barge, gosh, that sounds bad. Especially with Tony.Sr. aboard. Oh, uh-oh. Better not do that again, or we'll be deady. Ah, right, yes, auto scouts. Auto scouts are not balanced anymore. I think this change was terrible and I want it undone. I might even make an add-on to remove the emancipation grid completely. because these are not balanced. We're actually just leaving. I'm not even going to bother wasting my time on this thing. What this has done is it's made it so you can't board auto scouts. You take venting damage plus 4+ level of doors, so if you try boarding this auto scout, you'd take 14 damage a second. Like, Tony would die in like 3 seconds, or 4 seconds, after boarding, so you can't board them anymore. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh yes, these small bombs are making me nervous because they one-shot my leech. Friendo. Oh no, the grills originally were only going to stop ghosts going through doors, but no, they're really broken now. It makes ghosts die extremely quickly aboard auto scouts. No, you just can't board them now. So my fear is the Crucible run is going to be made impossible by these auto scouts. Because obviously you can't board them. And if you're playing Crucible, you have no shields. So that's not going to be fun. Oh, Tony.Sr's store. I wonder if there's a blue option for having him on your ship. It's just the funny flavour text. So Tony.Sr's store basically is just everything. It's a superstore that has all sorts of wonderful things. You get a huge variety of crew, you get a huge variety of weapons, hectare weapons, if you want them. You can also get normal weapons systems, but the key advantage of these is getting hectare weapons wherever you go. Like this store, if I could afford it, would give me a piercing modular beam, which is really, really good. We can't afford it. Yeah, no, logical being unfun is definitely what I would describe this problem as. Not being able to board autos, like, at all, is just not... Like, what do you do when you're boarding? Because if you pick a boarding ship and you can't board, you're kind of screwed. You know, it doesn't matter if you have respirators, because it won't save you. You're pretty much forced to buy Clone Blade to board now. You must buy respirators, and you have to hope you never run into auto scouts. Because one auto scout can end your run if you're boarding quite easily in the early game. Which is why I would just say don't bother with the... Are you kidding me? Okay, game logic pissing me off a bit here. Where's your shield? Huh? Its shield's disappeared. Interesting. I still can't kill it because it's an auto scout and it's got no oxygen. If it doesn't have doors, this grid thing doesn't actually do anything. It basically just only stops them going through the doors. Yeah, that's a good point. It really doesn't need any help. But because I have crew killing weapons set up, I can't get rid of auto scout. Auto scout's too scary. So let's leave. Oh, I did see, I peeped the map. The map had something very exciting. One of the new sectors. I'm just that lucky. In fact, it's not just any sector. It's the sector that you find Tony.Sr. So we might get a 5th Tony.Sr. completely by accident. Because his unlock quest is here. And this is, as far as I'm aware, the rarest sector in the game in the current update. Literally, a hectare sector in Sector 5 is more common than this. Because the nebulas just don't spawn very often. I can't remember the quests I found here because I didn't write them down, but I think it's at all the nebula basically. What we got here? Coalition. So Coalition sectors now actually tell you the augments the ships have, instead of it just being weird and confusing and goofy. Also, what the I'm in Sector 5, my dude. What is this trash? What the heck? My guy has no shields? What are you doing? This is the most embarrassing ship I've ever seen. No. I think this dude needs to understand you're in an asteroid field. You might want to invest in more than just cloaking. He's still getting hit while he's cloaked. Like, what? This is just a objective failure. What's more cringe, this strike fight or my leeches? Valid questions for today. Goodbye, dumbass. Leech store. And we're into the nebula. So this is basically right. So the leech stores, the way they work is it's a coin toss between gaining or losing money, basically. That's the idea behind them. Clone Bay, yes. Good. Mini flak. This store has saved my run. Praise be for the mini flak. Because leeches heal on their own, I actually don't care about the medbay. Go. And there's the creepy leech encounter. So it's quite lucky we have a clone bay actually. Give ourselves a leech. Ah, the Ampere ships, right, so the Amperes are the dangerous leeches. They're a bit less cringe than the average. Why did I cloak that? I need to cloak that giant flat. We are in considerable danger. So I hear boarding noises like cloaking. Oh! Quick, board, board, board! I don't care that we're being boarded, we need to do some damage. We'll take one back. Where are we being boarded now? The door system can't do anything. Have to take more damage, sadly. Oh, it's a fat boy. Lovely. It's a fat rock. So not having medbay's kind of awkward now. We need to fix that kind of quickly. We'll get them done. Ouch. Oh jeez, let's fix all the stuff. It is a rock, so I think we have to break that O2. Get a Deox kill because I don't have a medbay. And then we'll get going again. Yeah, it's all broken. A wonderful time. Well, for not them. He's in shields. Auto fire. Auto fire that shit. Make the speed. We can finally turn speed on after so long. One excuse. I have to turn it off immediately because of stupid pre-ion bugs. We'll keep that shield from ever going back online. Oh, weapons now. Interesting choice. I don't think you're allowed to fix that either. No. It must be, I think it's a Rockman Crusader that's running around. Whatever he is, he's gone. We have an Eris. That is not useful this run. It's still bad. It did not get buffed, and I don't like it. Oh no! We upset the leech. I'm in danger. Ah! The quest. So this is a leech unlock quest. I got it first time. No, don't mind control. Oh, fuck! He almost died. Oh, he's gonna die. Oh my, this is a mess. And we're dead. Screw mind control. But that's a leech unlock quest. I knew this run wouldn't last long, so as soon as I looked at my terrible ships. But Tony.Sr, fun. Leech is not fun. The lab gives them 2 little health. And looking at it, it doesn't seem to scale the health drain for the number of enemies. Like, that one leech in that room died instantly when they boarded, and there wasn't anything he could do. So I don't know. Leeches be kind of cursed this update. Other 2 upgrades, the one that gives them speed is interesting. It allows you to dig around, which I guess could be useful if you're boarding a 2x2 room, 2x1 room, so not 2x2. Like those little rock ships with the 2 size rooms would be interesting. And then the one that gives them power, I don't know. I feel like the leech is intended for boarding. I don't know why you'd want an upgrade that turns them into zoltan. It's just a bit weird, but that's all for now. I think this stream has been long enough. I think we'll call it a day. We'll do Tony.Sr another time. And I'll be back probably with another new item on the list. We'll either do the new drone or one of the math weapons, which we haven't ran into Callie yet, but if you ever see Callie, make sure to answer her questions properly or she'll get mad. Thank you all for watching today. I know it's been a long one, but I had to cover the update. I hope it's been helpful, but I'll see you again later. Bye for now.